This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Hello and welcome to the future. It's 2023 and we're all sitting here talking about new Dreamcast games, peripherals and related nonsense. Just going to let that sink in for a second. Dramatic pause. Oh wait, I wasn't meant to read that bit, I don't think. This is episode 113 of the DreamPod from the Dreamcast Junkyard, and we hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year, wherever you are listening. We've got a lot of news to get through over the next hour-ish, and I am one of your three hosts on this particular journey into the depths of Dreamcast Talk, YouTube, and the other less travelled annals of the DreamcastScene.com. See what I did there? My name is Tom, and this time I'm joined by Lozz. Hello, Lozz.
Hello, all. Glad to be back on the finest Dreamcast podcast on the internet. It might be the only one, but it's the best.
I was going to say that's a bold claim, but yeah. And we're joined by Lewis as well. Hello, Lewis.
Hello. I've not done one of these for a whole year. No, wait, that's not how the joke goes. I've not done this in a year. I don't know, whatever dads say before they drop their kids off to New Year's parties.
Right, seeing as it's the other side of Christmas, I want to know what Santa brought you guys. So rather than discuss a game we've played in this intro bit, I want you to tell me, and our listeners, obviously, about one particular present you received, which was, you know, the shining jewel at the top of the pile of presents you received. So, Lozz, tell me about one present you got that made you smile particularly broadly.
Well, you know, I'm of that age now where most of my presents are dull and practical, but I always tend to get one more fun present from my best mate. And this year he got me a tech deck fingerboard, which is a kind of toy from our childhood.
Which graphic is it? Which
It's a Jaren Wilson girl skateboard.
Nice.
Who is?
Oh, is this a finger skateboard where you have
it
put it on
is.
the deck? Yes, right, got you.
Yeah, I've already managed to break it somehow, but you know, basically, you know, you can sit here when you're working from home. It's a great way to procrastinate. You know, you can sit there with it on your desk. So yeah, that's fantastic. So alongside, you know, the socks and the houseplants and things, that was the kind of standout one.
There's a whole kind of nerdy community around them. You start with like the tech decks, and then you upgrade to like full like wooden fingerboards with proper bearings in the wheels and like metal trucks, and there's all these like this snobbery around like this is a real fingerboard, like yeah.
Oh my god, do you like sort of grinding down like the banister and stuff at like down the stairs and all that kind of thing?
Mate, I was straight into my bathroom and I had it in the bath in the sink. You know, that's the perfect way to
reenacting
do it.
Lords of Dogtown. Yeah.
It's the sort of thing I'd never buy myself, and every year he gets me something like that. It was a Digimon last year, you know, so
nice.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Awesome. And Lewis, what about you?
I received a ticket to the Tomb Raider live experience in London, which is a thing I'd seen briefly online, but has anyone seen that? There was like a Crystal Maze live experience. It's like some kind of thing where you show up in person and you like do various things, and then I don't know, but I've seen people doing like the zip line in this Tomb Raider live experience. I'm sure that'll be fun for me. I'm 30 now, so you know I need to start, you know, not taking these risks and being a little bit more nice to my body. And
I'm intrigued by this. I'd like to see you, Lewis, sort of like edge up to a ledge and then jump backwards to get yourself lined up properly, and then sort of sprint forward and jump and then hang off another ledge. just like Lara Croft does. Yeah.
Shoot a load of wolves or something with dual wielding pistols.
The bit that they've missed out. I was looking at the website and they missed the trick on like the bit where you can, as part of the experience, you can lock the butler in the freezer. that would make the entire thing for me. Yeah.
So is it like a sort of like an assault course type thing?
Kind of. Yeah. It's like this. Lara Croft has tasked you with like solving kind of going on this journey, and it's one of those kind of interactive like experiences. Like I guess families can do it as well, but like it looks quite fun. But yeah, it's cool that it's like themed after Tomb Raider. Like like I say, they did a Crystal Maze one, but yeah, it just shows how huge Tomb Raider is as a franchise. I guess
that sounds really cool. Interesting stuff. Wow.
And what about you, Tom?
Well, I was going to say your presents kind of like put mine to shame, really. I mean, I got a motorcycle seat cover, so it's not really as exciting as what you guys have got. I mean, the fingerboard and the Tomb Raider experience sound like way more exciting. But basically, the motorbike that I own has got a really hard cover, a really hard seat on it. It's like sitting on one of them benches from school. You remember the big wooden benches that you could like turn upside down and like walk a tightrope on?
Yeah.
Tightrope. But yeah, my girlfriend's mum and dad got me this seat cover. I asked for it. They didn't just like guess that I'd.
Yeah.
But, so it adds a bit more like cushioning and foam to the seat, so it makes it a little bit more.
Is it just like plain black or something? It's not got like a jazzy pattern.
It's like brown, sort of like suede. It looks quite cool, to be honest. So for those people interested in motorbikes who are listening to this, my bike is a Royal Enfield Interceptor, and it's a nice sort of brown suede cushioned cover that goes over the seat, and it just gives it a little bit of a nice classic look. So yeah, that's enough motorbike talk for this particular episode. If anybody wants to hear more motorbike talks, you can join my unique Discord channel. It's Motorbike Talk with Tom. No, it's not. It doesn't exist. But I'm thinking
I want it to exist.
If we can will it into existence, but that means I'd have to go on Discord more than once a year. As people in the Dreamcast Junkyard Discord know, that is not something that happens very often. So nice plug there for the Junkyard Discord as well. Anyway, that was great hearing what you guys got for Christmas. But we're here in 2023, ready to go with a whole new complement of DreamPod episodes. On that topic, though, last year we had a really good year. We got an email through from Buzzsprout, who is our podcast hosting service, and it gives you like a review of the year. And unbeknownst to us, we placed in like the top 10% of all Buzzsprout podcasts. So thank you to you, our listeners, for continuing to download our inane ramblings. I think we had something like, was it 23,000 downloads or something, Lewis?
Yeah, it was pretty high number. I don't have it to hand, the statistic. But
it's really cool for such a niche podcast. I mean, obviously that doesn't probably sound like a lot of downloads for, when you hear that, like, I don't know, Giant Bombcast or whatever gets like millions of downloads a year. But we are quite a sort of niche, narrowcast podcast, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So thank you to you, our listeners, for continuing to support the podcast. It's very cool. So here we are talking about news again in 2023. Should we just jump straight into the news and just like kind of crack on? Yeah?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Excellent. So first thing is something that happened in 2022, actually. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Cowabunga Collection has finally come to the Dreamcast thanks to Ian Michael. And it has basically blown away all expectations as to what a Dreamcast like homebrew could actually be. For me, it's better than the officially released version by Konami and Digital Eclipse because it contains things that they couldn't include on their versions through licensing, like old cartoon episodes, Vanilla Ice's like Turtles Rap, ROM hacks. It's just a fantastic bundle of games for like the SNES, the Mega Drive, the Game Boy. You've got ROM hacks on there. You've got arcade versions of games. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing it today because there was a re-release of it just after we put up our article on the Dreamcast Junkyard called the Dark Theme Edition, which had Shredder's Re-Revenge, which was a ROM hack of Streets of Rage 2 with all of the sprites, or very similar sprites and enemies to Shredder's Revenge, which came out on modern consoles recently. It's literally one of the best things I think I've ever seen come out of the homebrew community. It doesn't crash. The menus are all really well done. There's so much content in there that you could spend, a couple of hours just kind of leafing through manuals and looking at videos and episodes of the cartoon and just playing different games. It's almost like a Dreamcast version of, the Atari collection with all the different old games, and it's just brilliant. Hats off to Ian Michael. He's poured a lot of time into this. You can really tell. But enough from me. I guess you guys have had a play of it. I mean, what do you think? Any thoughts or opinions on it?
I mean, I'm very much of a similar mindset to you, Tom. It's just amazing. When I downloaded it and stuck it on my GDMU, I wasn't expecting to see all the kind of menus that are in there, all the extra content. It's just top class work. I think. Really, there is a little bit of extra leeway there, I suppose, with the homebrew project, because, as you say, you're not under all those kind of restrictions in terms of licensing and what you can get on. I mean, the idea that you'd have SNES games on a Dreamcast collection is probably a bit far fetched, but it's really superb. And in fact, I think I'd say if this was put out there. It obviously can't happen for a whole host of reasons, but if it was to be put out there as a product that you would buy, I'd quite happily pay money for this.
I think I said in my article on the Dreamcast Junkyard blog, I would imagine if this was like officially sanctioned and would have been no like legal issues, like somebody like Wave Game Studios could have slapped this in a box and put it out. As it is, Ian Michael is very kind of not militant, but he's said, quite vocally that this is free. It's a free product. It even says it on the splash screen when you turn the game on. Do not buy this from eBay. Do not buy this from Etsy. I have purposely released this for free. If you have bought this, you are a mug, essentially. That's what the splash screen like literally says. You know what I mean? And I think, Lewis, I know you've shared some of these screenshots and links, but people are actually trying to sell this on those aforementioned sites, and it's like, how could you buy this and then put that game into your Dreamcast, turn it on, and see that and not feel like an idiot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I want to say about this is one, it kind of feels like the kind of development from the Wave and Sega powered disc, like the demo disc they released with issue 5.
The Dreamcast special.
Because obviously Ian Michael did the menus for that, and this feels like he's kind of taken that kind of demo idea and sort of thought, I could, looking at something like Atari Collection or any of these other kind of museum style games, and he's like, presumably. I imagine he's a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I feel like this is kind of a testament to that. So he's obviously thought, what I could do like one of these collections, but for the Dreamcast. And I just want to say, it feels like kind of nostalgic, obviously, because I used to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid. But like the main thing for me is like it takes me back, and I said this to Tom, I think, like. Rest in peace to ISO Zone. I don't know if you guys ever used to go on that. Like, So when I first got into Dreamcast, I remember scrolling through ISO Zone because I was like, what? You can just burn games like onto CDRs? Like, this is mad. So I was going on this ISO Zone and seeing, all the Beats of Rage stuff. And it's like, oh, there's a thing that plays, NES games, like the Nesta DC thing with all the games on it. And it's like, oh my God, like the Dreamcast could do everything. This is incredible. And, we still have Dreamcast talk. So it kind of still, this sort of homebrew stuff kind of stays alive through there. But I remember ISO Zone kind of kept me in touch with a lot of that, maybe slightly more when I used to scroll through that a lot. And like, obviously nowadays, like, I feel like indie games are like a big thing in the spotlight, but I'd love to see more things like this, more of these kind of homebrew attempts like this, like not even an attempt, sorry, Ian, like a very good, very incredible, like, work from Ian. Just using the Dreamcast for, taking advantage of the fact that it is a game console that can play burnt CDRs, and, you got the GDMU now. It's like, putting together these collections of emulators and that kind of thing. It's like, I'd love to see more like this. And it feels like a bit of almost like a blast from a past for me in that sense. So it's really amazing work from Ian. Yeah,
and just to reiterate again what you've just said there, Lewis, the menu system that he's created and used it feels like a modern gen development.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel janky or a bit like haphazardly crammed together. It's so stable, and the fact that you can just kind of go back to the menu without having to like press all the the face buttons and start and then reset the console to like get back to the intro is just really well done. And one of the other things I want to mention as well is the fact that there's like a whole new graphical effect that's been employed on the main menu screen, the start screen, where he has this kind of overlay of video playing of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon episodes, and I remember before this even came out, this game, before it was like released to the public, on his YouTube channel, Ian would show these like demos of running on a Dreamcast. You've got video being overlaid over something else, and it was all a bit kind of what's he actually trying to show here, like, and then this game came out and it was like, the pennies dropped. It was just testing for this, and then employing this whole new graphical effect that's never actually been done in any of the Dreamcast game, even officially released ones previously. So it's all good, there's new things coming out all the time, and Ian's at the front of that, so yeah.
And that's going to be able to be used, the code for that, I'm pretty sure Ian shares everything, it's obviously all open, open source, I believe. And so that will be able to be used moving forward by others. Which is great.
Kind of like that sort of Beats of Rage idea, where everyone, like I was saying back in the day, like people were just getting Beats of Rage and doing this, Splatterhouse and, Resident Evil Beats of Rage. Like, so yeah, some people could take what Ian's done here and make collections of other things, I guess, themed collections.
I'd be very interested to see how this kind of plays out in the future, like, because obviously Konami, Digital Eclipse, they created the official inverted commas version of the Cowabunga collection for modern gen systems. Would there be any kind of like recourse for using this like licensed property on a Dreamcast like homebrew title that's free? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the legalities of it are.
I mean, the legalities of it are the same as with basically any sharing of ROMs, basically. But I can't see much coming of it because it's so prevalent already. And if anything happened to Ian, we'd obviously all gather round and create a big defense team.
So, Lozz, what you're saying is that if anyone comes after Ian Michael, you are going to form his defense team, yeah? Okay, cool. We've got that down on tape now. So we're playing on tape, on hard drive. Right. So yeah, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection for the Dreamcast. Do just Google that; you'll find it. Check it out because it's literally one of the best things to come out of the Dreamcast community for a long, long time. So, yeah, top marks to Ian Michael and all the other people who are involved in creating that as well. So, yeah. Okay, we've talked about a game. Let's talk about some hardware now for the Dreamcast. DC HDMI was released back in 2018 by Citrus 3000 PSI, which again is an amazing name. For those who don't know, it's basically a board that goes under the main board of the Dreamcast, and it connects directly to the graphical outputs, and it basically turns the output of the Dreamcast into a real, true HD signal. I'm not, again, I said this many times on this podcast, I'm not a programmer. I get things wrong. I am a bit thick when it comes to this kind of stuff. All I know is it lets me plug a HDMI cable into my Dreamcast and into my TV, and it just looks amazing on the screen. It's full 1080p image out of my Dreamcast. Everyone who's seen it at live events or any of the video that I've put up on YouTube out of this Dreamcast that I've got can agree that it looks amazing.
Yep.
Incidentally, the one that I have, the Dreamcast I have with the DC HDMI in it, was one that was created by Citrus 3000 PSI himself because he sent it to me to review back in October 2018. And so, I'm very lucky to have this system. It's one that I've also put a GDMU into, so it's my sort of main Dreamcast, and it's performed flawlessly for me ever since I took delivery of it, nearly 4 years ago now, and over 4 years. The reason I'm talking about this is that there is now a new version of DC HDMI, but it's had a little bit of a name change. It's now known as DC Digital. DC Digital version 2 is coming soon. As of the time of this recording, I think it's imminent. It's going to be imminently available for order at pixelfx.co. And if you go to the website, you will find a listing for it, and also a list of differences between the original DC HDMI and also the new version of DC Digital version 2. Before I continue, guys, has either of you got one of these DC HDMIs in your collection?
The first time I've seen one in action was yours, Tom, at the Nottingham Game Expo. Yeah, I've got the OSSC, which looks great, so I just have the VGA running through that. So yeah, that's what I use.
I'm also stuck in the dark ages with my VGA VGA box going into a really haggard looking HP 4x6 monitor. But I have been tempted by this before, but I think this is one of the mods that requires some quite delicate soldering work. Which
they do say that it's not really one for like the hobbyist. You do need to have a little bit of knowledge of the Dreamcast innards.
But you can. But there are plenty of folks out there that will, do this for you if you ask them kindly, or if you slip them a tenner, or it's probably more than a tenner. But
there's literally a list on the Pixel FX website that tells there's recommended installers, so that they're all over the world. You go. So if you do want to buy one, they're all over the world. They are pretty expensive. They're about $200. So. It's not something you should buy and then attempt to fit yourself. But if you can get hold of one and get somebody with a little bit of technical know-how to do it for you, you will literally get the best picture you've ever seen out of a Dreamcast. Looking at the list of features of the DC Digital 2, this even blows the original sort of Black Dog Tech version of the DC HDMI, the one I've got, out of the water.
Yeah.
So, we will put links to all the technical specs in the show notes for the podcast. Lewis, do you want to say something?
Yeah, one thing to add is I feel like I heard this. Maybe I read it on Discord, and maybe I'm just making, like was it Mandela effect or whatever? Where
the Mandela effect, yeah.
Yeah, where like you remember something, but maybe it didn't actually happen. But I swear people were saying with this that it seems, I think they were shocked to see that it was quite it was available, so you could just go on there right now and purchase. Whereas I don't know, maybe in the past it wasn't quite so easy to get hold of. So I think people were quite shocked to be like, "What? There's still, we can still get it right now with this new version." So yeah, it's currently on sale.
I think I said it was coming soon. It's actually available now. Yeah, it's $200. You can actually go on the website pixelfx.co. And you can literally just choose the version you want, either Naomi or Dreamcast, and then just add it to your cart and buy it. So I think what the issue was that it was the DC HDMI when that came out back in 2018. It was very limited in numbers because Citrus 3000 PSI had to create them all sort of to order.
Yeah. So
there was a very long sort of waiting list for them. Whereas this, I think he's actually now got Pixel FX involved to basically mass produce them. Mm-hmm. So you can actually just go on the website and buy one, and it will be with you in 1 to 2 weeks after ordering. It says here on the website. So yeah, very exciting. As I've said, this is a true HDMI solution for the Dreamcast. It's not like one of those like the Akura and the Gecko and all the other ones that just basically take the signal out of the Dreamcast and convert it into a HDMI output. It's not actually doing anything to the signal. It's just making it compatible with the HD TV. Whereas this actually upscales the image properly through some kind of witchcraft that I'm not remotely qualified to talk about with any real authenticity or know-how. But it's very, very much worth investigating if you want to get the best possible picture out of your Dreamcast. So yeah, that's the DC Digital version 2. Available now. Okay, we're going back to games now. We've gone from games to hardware. We're going back to games. 2 new Dreamcast releases on the horizon from one particular developer / publisher. That game is Androdunos and its sequel Androdunos 2. Androdunos, the original version, is now available from Pixel Heart. This was developed by Josh Prod. It's a space-themed shooter, side-scrolling, if that's your bag. There was a time on the Dreamcast where these kind of games were like, they were just 10 a penny and everyone was kind of got sick of them, weren't they? Like when like Ducks and that kind of stuff was coming out. It was just like,
especially Ducks, because I mean, I don't want to slight them because I enjoyed those games, but Ducks was re-released about 1 million times with slight differences.
I think people should check out, was it Retro Faith did a great video about all of these different shooters.
Yes.
So you can figure out the ones to play over the ones to maybe avoid or just get if you want to collect, basically.
Yeah, so Androdunos is a side-scrolling shooter. I've never played the original version, but I believe it's very good. So I've ordered that, and it's actually limited to 2,000 copies. And each one comes with like a little certificate of authenticity. I think that's quite a cool touch, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like Androdunos, the original on other systems is I think it retails for about £1 or something. But the Dreamcast one is like, with like taxes and import costs to the UK at least, it's about 40 quid.
Yeah.
So, if you've got the money, then get it. But obviously, if you've not, then I wouldn't worry about it too much. For me, the big one is Androdunos 2, which is, at the time of recording this, is only available for pre-order. And apparently it'll be available sort of in January 2023 at some point. I'm not entirely sure when, but I'll probably get that as well. That one is limited to 3,000 copies. And will again come with, a certificate of authenticity. Since when did Dreamcast games come with like a certificate of authenticity? Imagine going into the shop in like 1999 and getting a copy of Sega Rally 2. Here's your certificate of authenticity as well. Like, cheers. But it's a nice touch, I think.
I've got some awful ones from the original, from the very early days of the indie releases. I think I've got one for like Cool Herders, and it's just like an A4 piece of paper. I might be getting that wrong. It could be iRides or something, but
God, that's a blast in the past.
But I think this whole certificate of authenticity thing is with Pixel Heart. I mean, they've released some really good stuff, and I'm really looking forward to Androdunos 2, especially because it's actually, it's a new game, and from what I've seen from the trailers, it's looking great. But the stuff with the certificates of authenticity and kind of the limited edition aspect of it gives me kind of pressure selling vibes in a way, so I'm not too keen on that myself, but looking beyond that, I think Androdunos 2 is it's really piqued my interest, and I normally prefer a vertical shmup. That's like for some reason it's just like, I don't know, it just seems more intuitive to me. I've never been able to get along all that well with horizontal ones, but this one looks really great. I think it could potentially be the best shooter on the Dreamcast since Stormwind, maybe. So you can hold me to that. Another thing to hold me to.
So what's that? We've got legal representation for Ian Michael, and now the best shooter on Dreamcast since.
All your money back.
All your money back, yeah. I've actually played Androdunos 2 on the Xbox Series X, and it's a really good shooter. Again, I only paid about £3 for it, but it's really cool, and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not the biggest, I'm not an expert when it comes to shmups. Are we still allowed to say that? That's one of them terms that is kind of like cursed. It's like was it Metroidvania? Like, it's kind of fallen out of favour, hasn't it? Don't call it Metroidvania, or you're a casual, you dirty casual. But I do like Androdunos 2, so I'm really hopeful for what the original Androdunos and Androdunos 2 play like on the Dreamcast.
Do you ever get people, you just chat into like a work colleague and it's like, oh, what kind of games do you like? And they go, I like shoot 'em ups. And you're like, oh, what like? And they're like, Call of Duty. You ever have that conversation?
No, because nobody I know in real life actually likes games. If I say I like games, I was at work. Sorry, a bit of a tangent. I was at work a couple of weeks back, and somebody who was sat at a table with it at dinner time or at lunchtime was like, oh yeah, my housemate is this like weird 40-year-old guy. He just plays computer games. And I was like, excuse me, I'm 40 and I play games. And it was like,
how dare you?
And these were all like 20-somethings like I was sat with, and I just felt like a granddad. I'm like, Oh my God.
They'll get past that, Tom. You know, you spend your 20s trying to be cool, and then at some point you're like, I'm not gonna hide the fact that I like all these nerdy things.
At some point you find yourself on Pixel Heart buying Android Unos 2 for the Dreamcast.
Yeah, only if it comes with that certificate of authenticity.
Of course, yeah. Like when he comes in, like, where's my certificate? I don't want this. But yeah, I mean, I love Android Unos 2 on the Series X. So I'm hoping the Dreamcast version is just as good. I bet it's like 15 frames a second. I'll be like, oh my God, no, this is bad. But no. I've jinxed it, Anna. It'll be great. I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
It will be. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's another game. From games to websites that never actually existed in the first place, but now are available to browse at your leisure. That's a weird sort of segue. I never thought I'd say, but DD Planet. DD Planet is a game we've mentioned several times here on the DreamPod. Lozz, can you give us like a sort of an elevator pitch as to what DD Planet actually is? Go.
Trippy space worms now with a website.
What about Death Tank with robots?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, I'll steal that one.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, DD Planet, for those people who don't know, it's a cancelled game for the Dreamcast, which was going to be almost in the vein of Choo Choo Rocket, almost like a pseudo sequel, which was meant to be a very simple to play online multiplayer game, and it wasn't released. And then last year, it was actually discovered and released with online functionality by several members of the community. Is it Schumer? He was involved. PC Wizard.
Yeah. Actually, just to correct you there, Tom, I can't let this go. It was 2021 when it was released by PC Wizard. Yeah, time flies, doesn't it? Yeah, 2021, but then it was brought back online last year.
Right. So the original release was in 2021, and it was put online for the first time in 2022. Now, thanks to a user over at Dreamcast Talk called Ziden, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the website that accompanied the game is now also available online. So Ziden has basically resurrected a website that never actually made it online, but also gone to the trouble of adding English subtitles to it, so you can actually tell what it is you're doing. You can actually access this website through a Dreamcast or your browser using the DreamPipe method. We will put links in the show notes so you can have a play around with it yourself. But it is really cool that you can just like go on to this, like it's almost like a time warp or a time capsule from like the late 90s Dreamcast era of what a game related website was like. I know there are other game websites that have been brought back online, but it's just really interesting to be able to just like have a play around and see what kind of things the developers were sort of messing with in an online capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's you absolutely must visit it. If you're going to visit it on your Dreamcast, because you can just go on the game, select online mode, click on homepage, and it'll take you straight there if you're using a DreamPod. Which really, I mean, bang on about the DreamPod, every DreamPod, so you should have one. But the website is. It just really completes the experience for me for these games, because you can literally just play the game as it was. Well, with this title, not as it was because it was never released, but you get that complete experience. You can go and play it online. You can click on the links. Everything's working. It's it's just kind of the cherry on top. And Ziden has actually done this. He's quite prolific, actually. I think he's involved with the DreamPipe project, and I was having a look at what else he's done. He's done in the last year or two. He's also done Rayman 2 website, I think Street Fighter Alpha 3, and also Shenmue Passport. And some of those websites have. The DD Planet website's great. It gives you a kind of interesting look into, the aesthetics of the game and that. But some of these other websites have some other features as well. Like I think there's some DLC and some more kind of interactive parts. So yeah, big props to Ziden for everything he does.
Totally agree. Yeah. Can you imagine? I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier on, but can you imagine speaking to somebody at work who's like, a normie, inverted commas, and they go, "Oh, so what did you do? What did you do over the weekend?" "Well, I went on the DD Planet website on my Dreamcast." "Sorry, what?" And then like having to explain to them step by step what you've just said to them, that sentence, they'd be like, "Okay."
I had that at work with, the I keep referencing this. I feel like I'm just like bragging that I made this article, but like,
the God, article Lewis, not this again. No.
the D2 magazine, but like writing that article about the D2 magazine and explaining that Laura is like this digital actress in a game that like no one's played, and but they made her a fashion model in this magazine, and like someone asked me about, because I was like, I had this really cool thing I'm writing, like in my, just telling them about what I've been up to. I'm like really excited about it. And it's like, "Oh, what's the magazine?" I'm like, "Oh, it's like this fashion magazine from Japan, and the characters like wearing clothes by like Yoji Yamamoto, and like it's like, I think they just didn't really get what the fuck I was saying, like so I just kind of push that one to the back of my brain and pretend it didn't.
On them. We make the world, the world's a rich tapestry, and all these nerdy things. It's much more interesting, I think, than talking about the weather or I don't know, what else do you talk about?
Can you imagine like it's being at a bus stop and like rather than talking about how crap the weather is, going, "Oh, have you seen my D2 article about Laura?"
Yeah, it's on the Dreamcast Junkyard. What's a Dreamcast? Oh, it's this system that it didn't do very well or whatever. That's what someone said when at Nottingham Game Expo. I heard like a dad say to his son, like, "Yeah, this was the Dreamcast. It was a very cool console, but sadly didn't do it wasn't very successful in the bigger picture or whatever." And it's like, that's really cute that like he was sort of imparting this knowledge to his son about the cool Dreamcast console. So I
mean, you could just tweet "Who remembers Crazy Taxi" on Twitter and see how many thousands of retweets you get. So.
We're going to have to do that soon. Just give in.
Never. Right. Okay. So that's DD Planet. The website is now available. Check the links in the description of this this podcast. Even you will find it and have some fun. Props to Zidane once again from Dreamcast Talk. Okay. Moving on. There's a new game coming to the Dreamcast. It's called Gemma Boy Zero, and it's from Nape Games. Gentlemen, are you familiar with the canon of Nape Games?
I am, after reading your article, Tom, yes.
Well, that makes two of us who are not familiar with the canon of Nape Games. Lozz, thank you for sharing this with me. I wasn't aware of this, to be honest, until you sent me the message that Gemma Boy Zero is coming to the Dreamcast. I was aware of Nape Games. I'm aware of games like Ploid and Recnum, but I think our colleague Mike Phelan is more of an expert when it comes to this development studio. They're from Spain. They've put out quite a few games on the Dreamcast, and by all intents and purposes, they are pretty well received. And Gemma Boy Zero is another one. It's actually, from what I gather, it was a stretch goal for Gemma Boy Zero X, which is coming to modern gen or current gen systems like the Switch, the PS4. Is the PS4 still current gen? Would you still call it current gen? Last gen?
Current gen to me. Last gen.
Yeah, I've not. It'll be current gen until I upgrade.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll go for current gen then. Switch is definitely still current gen. But yeah, this version, Gemma Boy Zero, is basically a port of the NES version of the game, which was a sort of a stretch goal. And it's almost like, is that term again that I mentioned earlier, Metroidvania style adventure. With fairly primitive graphics, but it's just a nice thing to see. It's Dreamcast still getting some love. I did see some discourse on Twitter about people not particularly liking the fact that it's another NES game for the Dreamcast, but I don't really mind that, to be fair. It keeps the Dreamcast current, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
I mean something like Flea or Tapeworm Disco Puzzle is like, they're NES ports, but I feel like we feel like those are almost standout indie titles for the Dreamcast. Like people talk about them like they're Dreamcast games. So like, I'm never opposed to seeing these because I don't own a NES. So it's like, it's a way to play these for me, and give them a go. And the other discourse I saw was that they do this on Nape games is they always have the tier as like a retro tier, and it's you have to buy the NES cartridge and the Dreamcast game as one together. Okay. Yeah, which is like I say, for me, it's like that'd be a bit useless. I just have a hunk of like plastic, hanging about in my house, not being used because, like I say, I don't have the console. So, but yeah, I think people. I know obviously there's that whole thing about, the Dreamcast looked a certain way to people, but, have a look at a game like Bang.io or, the shooters, and, not all the games on Dreamcast look like Sonic Adventure or Soul Calibur, and also a lot of people play 2D games on the Switch and no one says, oh, why aren't you playing the new Mario or whatever? Yeah. So I don't know. It's like I get the kind of nostalgia factor people have for indie games, but like, I think honestly, just give these a try and like, you might be pleasantly surprised.
I think a lot of these games, they do kind of come from that school of thought that it's like gameplay over visuals. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And I don't think, we do live in an age where, the consoles are very powerful, PCs powerful. You can have these amazing 3D visuals, but some of the like the best games which have stood the test of time are very primitive visually. Like look at stuff like Tetris. You know what I mean? You don't need graphics there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got Tetris Effect, but that's going beside the point. If a game plays well and it's enjoyable and it's fun, it doesn't really matter what it looks like, does it?
Yeah.
So.
I can't say as to whether. The proof will be in the pudding, won't it? I can't actually speak to how any of the Nape games play on Dreamcast because I haven't had the opportunity to try them, and I think part of the reason there, and like we're all late to this. Like I shared the link with you guys a week or so ago, and the Kickstart is like I think it might.
It ended like mid-December, didn't it? Something
already
like
be over. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect there because they're kind of they're in Spain. They're probably primarily putting out stuff in Spanish language, maybe, or just kind of in different networks. And I feel like if they seem to be running like a real well-oiled machine. I mean, they've put out 3 Dreamcast releases now. I imagine they'll just keep coming. If they keep doing these NES games, they'll continue to port them. So I reckon if someone like Wave or Pixel Heart, they could easily put all 3 of these releases on a single disc,
like a Nape Games collection type thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'd be up for that.
Just on this topic, a recent Dreamcast game I spent quite some time with was Beebis 2, which again is a NES port for the Dreamcast. It's even running like in a NES emulator on the Dreamcast, I believe. And me and my partner, we played for ages. I played it myself for a while first because I was reviewing it, but then she kind of walked in as I was playing it. She said, "Oh, what's this?" I explained to her what it was, and we put 2 controllers in, and we started playing 2-player, and we played for probably about 45 minutes, an hour, something like that. It doesn't look like much of a game, but once you get into it, you look through the graphics and you start, right, need to get there. Oh, time is counting down. Quick, get that thing, jump over that, And it was a lot of fun. So, this game, Game Boy Zero, coming to the Dreamcast, I don't see it being a NES port as a negative. I think it all depends on the quality of the game.
I mean, people always say, oh, it doesn't take advantage of the Dreamcast's power. Well, one of the Dreamcast's powers, whether it be a good one or a bad one, is that it can play, NES emulation off a disc, because it's like such a easily, crackable console, and it's like, here, have an indie game that's an NES game. Like, that's just one of the many benefits of how kind of blown open the system is, I suppose. So it is kind of a facet of the Dreamcast in a way that it plays these kind of games too. Yeah,
but then if you look at it on the flip side, you have got quite impressive 3D games. You've got things like Xenocider, do you know what I mean, which are running in like bespoke engines. Do you remember that thing a few years ago? What was it called? It was like a bank heist game.
In the Line of Fire.
Yes. That looked amazing.
Yeah, it failed on its funding.
It did, yeah. But I mean, can you imagine? I wonder if that was re-kickstarted now with the sort of the furore around the Dreamcast, whether or not that might get a bit more traction. Just because
I think it would.
It was. I mean, I played the demo actually on my Dreamcast, and it looked so good. It was brilliant looking. So.
Well, I'll find out. I'll.
Is that the third thing you're going to do? So you're going to
third thing. I mean, I may as well. I'm coming this far.
List?
Why not? I'll find the guy that made In the Line of Fire, and I'll strike up a publishing deal with someone, and it'll be out by what should we say? March. I say March. Brilliant.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that. Okay, right. Speaking of things that are coming out, definitely coming out. VM2. VM2 is getting closer and closer to release. New images of the unit have been shared online by our good friend Derek Pascarella.
So, yes, the VM2 is...
It's real. It's real.
The next gen. It's the next gen visual memory unit. And, this is from the creator Chris Dioglu, who... did the DreamCon, which again I got to try one of them out, Tom, when you brought one to Nottingham Game Expo, and they also did they did a light gun. He did a light gun as well, didn't he? Chris?
He kind of reverse engineered a Wii controller into a light gun for the Dreamcast. He also did a keyboard for the Dreamcast called KeepCon. I don't know, that didn't really roll off the tongue, but 10 out of 10 for effort, I suppose.
Yeah, and so his next thing was, we've talked about this previously, it was basically a VMU that was like the VMU to rule them all. It'd have like extra large storage, it'd be have a rechargeable battery, so no more like, getting the CR, was it 2032, is that the number, to like whacking it every time it like goes dead after like, one use of like a mini game on the VMU just goes dead. And it's USB-C charging, which was a thing that was developed in the course of the campaign, and it like completely smashed its funding goal. And he's released some photographs through Derek, and this is of the first test production run of the VM2, and it's looking really cool. And it just looks like a VMU, but kind of maybe a little bit extra. I don't know. I like the fact it just looks like a normal VMU, but it has, Dreamcast VM2. And then, if you look at the screen, obviously we'll link the article in the show notes, but, it has like an SD icon and like a battery icon, to measure battery life, and the sleep button's been changed for a power button. So it's looking really nice. It looks like an official product, other than the fact that the swirl and the Dreamcast logo looks slightly different, I think presumably to avoid any legal issues. But it looks great.
Just on that point, the thing that kind of stands out for me looking at the images of it is the fact that you can see how, even though the images themselves aren't great, the screen looks super sharp, and that just tells me that it's going to be the real deal when people get it and see how high res that VMU screen is. I'm really intrigued to see how it looks when you're playing things like like in like virtual tennis, you get like the little almost like 3D representation of the court, and you can see the ball kind of bouncing over the net, and it just looks properly pixelated. I wonder how that will look on this screen. Will it somehow look like really high res, or will it still be the same with the big chunky blocks? I don't know how it's going to end up looking, but I'm really excited to see, what people's impressions are of it when they get it in their hands. As you say, it looks just like a normal VMU, but it's got this high res screen. It's got the extra functionality of having the SD card slot. Good point as well. You say about it being the VMU to end all VMUs. The one VMU, because it makes all the others redundant, doesn't it? I mean, you don't need to, if you whack a 256 gig card in that, you're never going to need to remove it from your system ever again, are you?
Yeah.
So also you gave me like a visual of like Frodo and the Fellowship, like going on a trek to Mordor to throw a VM2 into the fires of Mount Doom, So, but don't do that though, because it's really expensive. So you'd throw away £100 if you do that.
Yeah. I think like a lot of people, that's another thing to add. Actually, you can still get one. It's on Indiegogo. That I didn't realize this was a thing you could do on Indiegogo. There's a feature called, what's it called now? In demand. So I think if a campaign is really successful, the people who set the campaign up can choose to, I guess, continue to, have pre-orders for products. So you can do that, or you can go to DreamMods. What's that? DreamMods.net as well. Apparently, there's going to be pre-orders available on there in it says a few days' time. On last time I noted it, I've not seen if it's on there yet, but
I'm going to have to get one. It is expensive. It's about £100 in it, but
like we say, it's like if it's we haven't obviously had one in our hands yet, but if it's the VMU to rule them all, like maybe it's worth the money, I think, and obviously it's a lot of effort will be put into this. So
cool. No, great work, Chris. If you're listening to this, we're very excited to see how this ends up. So yeah, and thanks obviously to Derek as well for sharing the photos online. Good stuff. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Maybe if we talk about it in the next pod as well, we all get one for free or something like that.
Yeah, possibly we could do. Yeah,
hopefully.
Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know. Could we like sell our souls and get free stuff?
I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna put the money up. I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I think I am as well.
Pay negotiations to end at work, and then it'll come. Then it'll come.
I've never really liked getting stuff for free to like review, because it's almost like you feel kind of obliged to be not as harsh as it would be normally.
Yeah, so, it stops it being objective, doesn't it?
And that's kind of what I tell myself to, like, stop myself getting annoyed that we don't get stuff sent to us for free anyway. So I could be a twat about stuff if I've paid for it myself, like I've done with Androdunos and Androdunos 2. So if they are crap, I'll tell you. Anyway, that's VM2. I'm sure it won't be crap, because the stuff that Chris has created in the past hasn't been. Another thing that's coming soon, or is actually available now, but is in very early development, is a voxel engine for the Dreamcast. This has been in development for, at the time of recording, about 2 weeks, and it's called Voxel Engine Dreamcast. This is created by a very clever guy called Luis Gustavo, aka Nariz on Twitter, at Nariz. We'll put links in the show notes so you can have a look at this. He decided to create a voxel engine, or a port of the voxel space engine for the Dreamcast, and within the space of about 2 weeks, got it up and running on an emulator. I don't think it's running on an actual Dreamcast at the moment, but it's running on an emulator. Just a quick interlude here from Tom while I'm editing. It has now been ported to an actual Dreamcast as of this morning, as I'm editing this podcast. And it just looks really cool. This is only like a snippet of news, to be honest, because there's not really much to it. But I saw this running, and I just thought, I like little projects like this that are not really for anything, but to show what can be done with the Dreamcast technology. And it just kind of struck a chord with me that this guy had created something this amazing in 2 weeks, and also made me think about things from the past which could potentially have come to the Dreamcast. So things like Outcast, which was rumoured to be coming to the Dreamcast. Well, it wasn't rumoured. It even says it on the Outcast website. If you go and look at it through the Wayback Machine, the Dreamcast version of Outcast was in development. Outcast, if you're not familiar, was a game that heavily relied on voxels. So who knows where this could lead? It probably won't lead to an Outcast port coming to the Dreamcast, because who's got the time to spend to create an entire game on the voxel engine for the Dreamcast? But it's just a nice tech demo. Guys, I'm sure you've seen this. Any thoughts?
I felt very stupid when I read about it, 'cause the video looked great, and thoughts started coming through my mind about what it could potentially be used for, but I didn't know what a voxel engine was, and I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I was even more confused after trying to read that. So I'm afraid that's all I have to say. But it looks great, and hopefully something can be produced from it.
Yeah, likewise, I'm
a
bit thick when it comes to this kind of stuff. So voxel is almost like an alternative to a polygon. I'm sure someone listening to this is going to be like pulling their hair out and screaming. Yeah, so if you're on the bus listening to this and I'm getting this wrong, just, bite your tongue because I'm not a programmer, but essentially it's like an alternative to a polygon, and you can create these like undulating landscapes and like physical structures out of things that aren't polygons and something or other. I remember they do have a unique look to them, because I did mention this in the article that I wrote on the back of this demo being released, but there was a game on the Sega Saturn called Amok. And I remember the first time I played it back in the day when I had a Saturn, it ran really slowly, but you played as this kind of like, almost like a bipedal walking tank thing that roamed around these like alien landscapes. And rather than it looking like a traditional polygonal kind of landscape, like in something like Gungriffin, for example, the difference was that it almost looked more organic. So the rolling hills were way more sort of rolling, way more undulating, and not like kind of like angular, if that's the right way of describing it. So as I said in the article, the Saturn could run a voxel engine, so there's probably no problem with the Dreamcast running one, but the fact that no commercially released Dreamcast games even went near voxels is just interesting in itself. But now, 20 years after the fact, somebody's got a voxel engine running on the Dreamcast with 2 weeks of development time. I don't know, it just piqued my interest and made me think, what could have been if people had maybe funneled more time into that technology back in the day.
I suppose it has I guess it has that sort of retro aesthetic to it. I think there's been a few indie games that use voxels, and I think they use them to kind of, as in indie games on modern systems, like it gives it that kind of like retro look, I suppose, because of the sort of blockiness of it. I think they are voxels, but yeah.
There was a game. There was a game on the PS Vita
cool.
that I played a long time ago, where you were kind of just wandering around this kind of landscape with like trees with blossoms and like little bees buzzing around. And I'm pretty sure that was a voxel powered game. But I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head. Can I just let me just see if I can find it on Google, because it's worth mentioning. Yeah. Voxel game on PS Vita. Voxel game PS Vita. I'm not using my.
You also had I think it's like called 3D Game Heroes on PS3. I think that was voxel based as well.
I can't find it. It's not going to show it me. But yeah, people, if you're listening to this, there was a game on the PS Vita. You walked around this like kind of landscape, like with trees and grass and stuff, and there wasn't really any aim to it. You just kind of wandered around looking at stuff. But I'm pretty sure that was a voxel engine game. Anyway, massive tangent, not important in the slightest. But yeah.
That's okay, Tom. We might, it's a good example. People look that up. It's an example of what we could get on the Dreamcast, maybe.
Indeed. Okay, so yeah, again, we'll put links in the show notes, so do please go and check that out. Voxel engine for the Dreamcast. Right, that I think will do it for this episode. Unless there's anything else that either of you guys want to just touch on briefly.
Oh yes, can I make a desperate appeal, please, to any listeners?
Of course.
You better say no.
We don't know what it is yet, so
buddy, give me buddy. No, I have some massive piles of old Dreamcast magazines that are yet to be preserved. So there's no copies of these on the internet yet, and I'm looking for any volunteer scanners, anyone who has the right equipment and the nous to be able to scan magazines. If you can get in touch, then that would be good. I have a full run of this magazine called Dream Zone, and there's some really interesting stuff in there. Some interviews with some French Sega Europe people and developers, and even Peter Molyneux and the like. So, a kind of rich history there that's yet to be mined. So they're not on the internet yet. Dream Zone. No. There's about
none of them.
There's about 4 copies that are online out of the 29. So yet to be done. So yeah, if you know how to scan magazines, you have an interest in doing it, get in touch with me or reach out to the Junkyard, and you'll be forwarded on.
Excellent. Are there any other magazines that are not very well documented online. I know that places like the Out of Print Archive and that kind of thing do this kind of stuff, but are there any others that you know of?
There's a guy on a website called Sega Retro called Black Squirrel. That's his username. And
I know the name.
He happens to have, basically everything that's online thus far, he's kind of drawn together and managed to get all the Dreamcast magazines together in one spot on Sega Retro. And there's still a whole bunch that are not online. I've also got most of an Italian run called Dreamcast Arena. I've got some magazines from Hong Kong that I have no idea how I managed to find them, but some kind of internet rabbit holes and doing translations and things. But so there's a whole bunch of things that I want to scan. But I've managed to get hold of these things and I'm willing to give them away for free, but I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to scanning, so I just need a bit of a hand there. Cool.
Okay, so get in touch with us via our Twitter, which we'll give out shortly. Well, I'll give it out now. It's at the DC Junkyard. That's a noble cause. Anything else, Lewis? Anything you wanted to touch on briefly?
Just go help Lozz out with his quest. His Twitter handle is at Ian Michaels Lawyer. If you want to find, no, it's not really, but that is really cool. Like, I mean, as Tom knows, I've got some Dreamcast magazines from that expo, so I've been kind of diving into them because I think I've mentioned before I didn't really have any when it was contemporary because it was my friend had the Dreamcast that I used to play all the time, so it would have been a bit silly if I'd have bought magazines for a system I didn't own. But I've been really enjoying that kind of when you read one, it's like just taking a trip back in time and what's the word, like a time capsule. So but I had a lot of fun with those. So
honestly, I looked back through. I've got a stack of magazines now, sort of starting to rebuild them just over the last few years, and I was looking back over. I think I bought an issue of T3 from our colleague Rob Jones. Was writing for T3 for quite some time, and I bought a couple of issues when he first started writing for him, just to kind of like show support. I'm buying T3 because you write for him now, and just like they're only from about 3 or 4 years ago, and just like flicking through like, oh, the new MacBook, and I'm like, oh, that's so old now. Or look at this app that's come out. I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't use that now. And it's really cool just to look back because it's, as you say, Lewis, it's a printed time capsule of the period.
Yeah.
And the technology that existed at the time. I've got older, I've got copies of like Zap 64 in there, so it's really cool just to be able to like flick through them and just like see what was around contemporary at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. I used to buy, when I first got my Dreamcast back in like the original period it was available, like in 99, I started buying a magazine called, I think it was called .net or @net or something like that. It was an internet magazine. It was like, look all these cool websites you can visit. And like why would you need that magazine to find websites? You just go on Google now, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Like, God. Go on. No, because if it was then, it would have been what? Ask Jeeves.
Alta Vista. Alta Vista or something. Lycos.
Yeah.
I think Lycos is still going, isn't it?
Angel Fire as well.
Yeah. God, we're going down a bit of a memory hole here, aren't we? Anyway, so please do get in touch if you can assist with Lozz's quest to document these long-forgotten Dreamcast magazines. They're always very interesting to flick through. Just a little bit of housekeeping here towards the end. I wanted to give a shout-out to some of the recent episodes we've done of the DreamPod in the last couple of months. We did have the Sega guys on the pod. We had a good chat with those guys. We also had Giles Thomas, who was the former marketing director of Sega Europe, talking about the launch of the Dreamcast over here in Europe. Very fascinating chat we had with him. And we also were invited to appear on the Video Game History Foundation's podcast with Frank Cifaldi and Kelsey Lewin. That's the Video Game History Hour. They were, I've been a fan of Kelsey and Frank's work for quite some time, so to actually be on a podcast chatting to them about this stuff that we do was quite surreal. And I think myself and Brian did a good job talking about the Dreamcast. And apologies if I got anything wrong on that pod. I think I might have got a couple of things slightly wrong, but we're only human. But that'll do it for this episode. Gentlemen, we've already discussed this briefly, but where can you be found on the internet Lewis, where can you be found?
I am at LewisJFC, and also I'm on the very often on the Dreamcast Junkyard Twitter, of which we just surpassed 9,000 followers, so thank you.
Congratulations, well done.
Yeah, well, I only took over like a few years ago, so whoever started it, congratulations to them for starting it.
I think it was Aaron the Gagaman Foster who actually started it, and then I did it for a while. Would tweet when I was drunk, get in trouble, and then decided that I need to get myself off Twitter, quickly before I do any more damage. So yeah, congratulations on continuing to drive it forward. It's great.
Yeah, we've had like quite a lot of like the Turtles thing, the VM2. There's been like so many little things that have just gone huge on the Twitter. I guess a lot of it, I think we've discussed before, is some people go, what? Like you can get the Turtles collection on Dreamcast. Like, people who don't know about these things, it's not, and it's really cool to see people so kind of stoked to find. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I like that people find these things out, and they seem so excited about it, like they didn't know, and it's like, yeah, like that's cool. That's what we do. Like, that's what we're here for, I guess, as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you give the handle out? I can't remember.
At the DC Junkyard, if we didn't. Yeah.
Excellent. Lozz, where can people find you?
I'm at lgoodchild_UK on Twitter, and I'm also posting on the Dreamcast Talk forums under the username Lozz quite often. So yeah.
Fantastic. You can find us all as a collective on the internet at the main blog, which is thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk. You can find us on Discord. You can find us on YouTube. You can obviously find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this now. But for this episode, thank you, Lozz. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you to you, our listeners, for continuing to download this podcast. And I steal this quite often from Dreamcast Guy on YouTube, but keep dreaming, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
It's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.